Today, in conjunction with the America First Policy Institute, I'm filing as the lead class representative a major class action lawsuit against the big tech giants, including Facebook, Google, and Twitter, as well as their CEOs, Mark Zuckerberg, Sundar Pichai.
Stay home and mask and and stay safe, and so.
And Jack Dorsey. Three real nice guys.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quarter. I hope you're having a wonderful day. If you are, and if you haven't yet, please do consider clicking that red subscribe button down below the video. It's basically the only way that you'll ever find my videos in YouTube search. And I would greatly appreciate it if you feel like I've earned it if you subscribe today. Now, I hope you are having a wonderful day, and it's probably a little bit better than those at YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, as a double-pronged bit of bad news rolled out today. Not only did former President Donald Trump launch a class action lawsuit against the platforms, but more importantly, I actually think the House Judiciary Committee has released their agenda for taking on big tech. Now, what does taking on big tech really mean? Well, essentially, I think you're looking at a Bell. This is probably before a lot of my viewers' times, but Bell telephone breakup. These companies probably need to get broken up. How do you go about that? I'm not sure. I mean, they have so much influence and power, not just in every single person's day-to-day life, but within government lobbies and powerful people in Silicon Valley. It's a hairy situation. But you know what isn't, or what won't be a hairy situation? Your face, if you take care of your skin. Check out this video sponsor, Geology. Huge shout out to this video sponsor, Geology. Listen, fellas, I know you're probably not spending a lot of time thinking about your skincare routines, if any at all, but I assure you that you should. And Geology has the perfect product for you. It's a simple skincare routine formulated for daily use. How does it work? Super simple. All you have to do is take their 30-second diagnostic quiz, and they formulate a regimen that provides the benefits that your skin needs the most, whether it's to reduce darker puffy eyes, fight acne, or keep oily skin under control. Maybe you just want to protect your skin and reduce fine lines and wrinkles. You start with a complete trial set. They have the everyday face wash, vital morning face cream, repairing night cream, and nourishing eye cream. On top of that, they have over 3,000 five-star reviews from customers with an average customer rating of 4.7 stars out of 5. Head over to geology.com, that's geologie.com, and take their free skincare quiz and save up to 40% off on your 30-day trial. Just click the link in the description or pinned comment below. That's geology.com to save 40% off on your 30-day trial. I bet you thought I was going to probably sell you a razor, but yeah, Geology. Nice stuff. They send it over to me. I'm going to start using mine, get my face looking much better. I know it's basically perfect the way it is, but even we can only use a little improvement. So I'm going to start with the House Judiciary Republican agenda for taking on big tech, because while I do think the Trump lawsuit is funny and meme worthy, I don't think it's going to go very far. Unlike this, now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope they just get it from both sides, obviously. But here, this was released. Big tech is out to get conservatives. Again, I will say it. And I say it every time. I really wish this wasn't a politically partisan thing. I wish that this was simply about enforcing Section 230 and protecting as much of our speech is reasonable. Obviously, these companies aren't a government entity, so they don't necessarily have to live by our First Amendment, especially when they're not in countries that even have a First Amendment or something similar. But, it is what it is. Anyway, Leader McCarthy has put forth a Republican framework to stop big tech rooted in American first principles and the rule of law. Consistent with this framework, the House Judiciary Republicans intend to pursue a collaborative and open process toward a conservative approach to tackling this challenge. This document expands on the Republican framework. Yes, we get it, Republicans. Yes, it was a Republican idea. Fine. Presents specific proposals that will speed up and strengthen antitrust enforcement, hold big tech accountable for its censorship, and increase transparency around big tech's decisions. Their plan is to accelerate overdue antitrust scrutiny. The law is currently on the books and should be used to break up big tech. The problem has been, however, that these actions take too long and allow companies years of legal maneuvering. An important step to speed this up would be and to incentivize robust challenges to the dominance of these tech platforms. The conservative response should include the following: expedited trial and court consideration, direct appeal to the Supreme Court, and empowering state attorneys generals. The accountability is their plan. Our plan subjects big tech to legal accountability. Platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube are functionally the public square of the digital age. It is wrong that these platforms control and censor speech with impunity. I actually agree with the idea that they are the modern day public space. That is a gateway to enforcing First Amendment rights. That said, obviously it gets hairy when they're publicly held or privately held companies. It's nearly impossible for Americans to seek remedy against big tech censorship decisions in court. In addition, the current regulatory regime divides enforcement between two unrelated agencies, creating an insufficient and unaccountable process. The conservative response has been to holding big tech accountable is a cause of action to empower Americans. Overhauling big tech's liability shield, that would be, of course, referring to Section 230. Congress passed Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act to allow internet platforms to moderate unlawful or offensive content on their platforms. Big tech has exploited this protection to make subjective content moderation decisions. By the way, I 100% agree with this. Then they go on to talk about consolidated antitrust enforcement and authority. Their plan also brings transparency to big tech's content moderation decisions. Not only are their platforms currently immunized from lawsuits regarding censorship, but all their decisions about who to censor are made in secret. Recognizing that the platforms function as main vessels for speech in the modern era, the plan for bringing transparency to big tech should include, obviously, a transparency plan around who they block, who they ban from their sites. I mean, I 100% support this. I also understand that these are privately held companies, and so some of this you're not even going to be able to enforce. Some of it probably shouldn't be enforced. But at the end of the day, I think breaking these companies up is likely one of your only options. I don't know if they ever will. I don't know if they ever can, because Google is so huge. I mean, to a lesser extent, Facebook and Twitter. I think revising Section 230 to include these arbitrary moderations that are clearly politically motivated, in my opinion, I think that would be good. Now, an hour ago, it was reported by the Associated Press, former President Donald Trump has filed suit against Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Former President Donald Trump has filed suit against 3 of the country's biggest tech companies, claiming he and other conservatives have been wrongfully censored. Trump announced the action against Facebook, Twitter, and Google's YouTube, along with the company's CEOs directly at a press conference in New Jersey on Wednesday. He was joined by other plaintiffs in the suits, which were filed in federal court in Miami. We're demanding an end to shadow banning, a stop to the silencing, and a stop to blacklisting, banishing, and canceling that you know so well, he said. Obviously, Trump and some other politicians have long argued that Twitter and Facebook and other social media platforms have taken advantage of the Section 230 protections and should lose their immunity, or at least have to earn it by satisfying requirements set by the government. I don't necessarily have a problem with this. Trump was suspended from Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube after his followers allegedly stormed the Capitol. The company cited concerns that he would incite further bad behavior, which was ridiculous. They just felt like it was finally their chance to ban him, and that's exactly what they did. You're talking about a guy that could have, I mean, he told these people to go home. I don't believe that he told them to do any of this. Anyway, Trump was suspended by Twitter. Nonetheless, Trump continued to spread the AP qualifies as misinformation about the election. Facebook, Google, and Twitter all declined to comment on Wednesday. The suits argue that banning or suspending Trump and other plaintiffs is a violation of the First Amendment, despite the fact that the companies are private. The suit against Facebook and CEO Mark Zuckerberg says Facebook acted unconstitutionally when it removed Trump from the platform. Suits against Twitter and YouTube make similar cases. All three ask the court to award unspecified damages, declare Section 230 unconstitutional, and restore Trump's accounts, along with those of the other plaintiffs, a handful of others who have all had posts or accounts removed. Trump's AP writes, Trump's lawsuits are likely doomed to fail, said Eric Goldman, law professor at Santa Clara University, who has studied more than 60 similar failed lawsuits over the past few decades. They've argued everything under the sun, including the First Amendment, and they get nowhere, Goldman said. Maybe he's got a trick up his sleeve that will give him a leg up on the dozens of lawsuits before him, but I doubt it. And I actually don't disagree with this, but I do think there's a lot of good that can come out of these lawsuits through the discovery phase. The American people can likely find out a lot of information about how Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter ban people, how blacklisting works, how shadow banning works. We can dig into, which side is more affected, but I'd rather stay firmly along the lines of all I want is for Twitter and Facebook to evenly enforce their rules, which it appears they don't. We see Twitter do this with who gets verified and who doesn't get verified. We see this with who gets banned and who doesn't get banned. We see this with who gets shadow banned and who doesn't get shadow banned. And if you're not going to enforce your rules equally, it opens you up to the discussion that perhaps there are political motivations as reasoning for your enforcement or non-enforcement of rules. So I'm actually, more behind the government action to reform Section 230. But hey, I think a lot of good can come out of Trump's lawsuit too. It's his own money that he's spending, or his donors' money, and I think the American people will learn a lot through this. And of course, these companies will get a lot of negative press. And if they did nothing wrong, then they'll be able to prove that too. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.